Jussie Smollett got off completely yesterday for faking a hate crime. His sentence was a few hours volunteering for Jesse Jackson. It's a miscarriage of justice, obviously. Who's responsible for it? Here's a hint. George Soros is involved. Not speculation, fact. Details after this. It's been a little over 24 hours since prosecutors in the state of Illinois dismissed all charges against actor Jussie Smollett for his bogus hate crime. And as time passes, that decision looks more and more inexplicable, maybe even inexcusable. Today, the Chicago police released their investigative files on the case, which were extensive, and they revealed several pieces of evidence supporting the view that Smollett lied and that this is in fact a hoax. That's what they believe. That's what they've said publicly. Meanwhile, new reporting indicates that the state's attorney, Kim Foxx, did not properly recuse herself as she claims she did, and may have still unethically influenced the case. Fox's Matt Finn has more tonight from Chicago. Matt?
Tucker, first, the Chicago Police Union tells Fox News tonight it plans on filing a complaint with the chief judge here because it feels that Kim Foxx did not properly recuse herself by having a special prosecutor appointed. Apparently, this case instead ended up in the hands of her right-hand man. The Cook County's clerk tells us that it cannot confirm if Foxx submitted paperwork formalizing her recusal. Fox's office has not responded to our multiple requests for clarification. Also, this internal email obtained by Fox News circulated around Kim Foxx's office today asks assistant attorneys to locate any cases that bolster Fox's stance that dropping the Smollett charges is not as shocking as it appears. A portion of the email reads, quote, "Nobody is in trouble. We are just looking for further examples of how we, as prosecutors, use our discretion in a way that restores the victim but causes minimal harm to the defendant in the long term." Today, Kim Foxx defended her actions, saying there's confusion because people don't understand the intricacies of the judicial system.
There's some people who were never going to be satisfied unless Mr. Smollett spent many nights in prison. And then there were others who believed that the charging of 16 counts of disorderly conduct was excessive.
And messages indicate that during the Smollett investigation, Foxx recused herself, and Michelle Obama's former chief of staff, Tina Chen, convinced Foxx to ask Chicago's police superintendent to turn his investigation over to the FBI. Tina Chen messaged Foxx, quote, "I wanted to give you a call on behalf of Jussie Smollett and family who I know. They have concerns about the investigation." Foxx responded, quote, "Spoke to the superintendent Johnson. I convinced him to reach out to the FBI to ask that they take over the investigation. He is reaching out now and will get to me shortly." Smollett maintains his innocence and has thanked the state of Illinois for their actions. Tucker.
Shocking. Matt Finn, thank you very much. Mark Morgan is a former deputy FBI director, and he joins us tonight. Mr. Morgan, thanks very much for coming on. Is it normal in cases like this for Michelle Obama's chief of staff to get involved behind the scenes?
Absolutely not. Tucker, in my 25 years of law enforcement, I've never seen this. This is absolutely a miscarriage of justice. And Chicago should be outraged. The police department should be, and they are outraged. And it's not just for this indefensible decision, but it's also the way they did it. Again, I've never been in a situation where the investigators and the prosecution team didn't have a symbiotic relationship, and they would have talked about this and talked about the decision and had discussions back and forth, but they did none of that, and they disrespected the police department by not doing that, and then they found out it at the same time you and I did. That's absolutely absurd. If I was a chief, I would be demanding that the state's attorney give those hardworking detectives an apology.
Kim Foxx's position appears to be, I don't care what you think. There's nothing you can do about it. If you don't like it, up yours. Is there anything that anyone can do about it?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. So what I'm really disappointed is that you haven't already seen the Illinois Attorney General stepping in. So he's got an ethics avenue that he can go in there right away. And I have been told that the FBI is taking a look at that. We have to be careful with that. So I'm assuming if I was there, if I was especially in charge, I would definitely be talking to the chief of police and going through some of these facts that was just outlined here and say, hey, what are our options here? But don't forget, you still have that letter. The FBI is still investigating that letter, and that's not done yet.
I mean, to be clear, I don't think anyone's calling for life in prison for Jussie Smollett, of course. And 16 felony charges may have been too many. Sounds like too many to me, speaking for myself. But this is just grotesque, and it suggests that people who have connections, who know Michelle Obama, for example, or who are on TV shows, get treated very differently than those who don't have those advantages. Is that your takeaway?
That's it. You can draw no other conclusion. And think about this. Now we've got a new bar. Now, if you're in Chicago and you make any false claim, think about that. All you got to do is fork up 10 grand, a couple hours of community service, and you're scot-free, and you don't have to admit any guilt. That's the new bar.
It's just really quick, this is kind of a broader question, but Kim Foxx had said that his 18 hours volunteering for Jesse Jackson's fake charity, the Rainbow Push Coalition, enriched the community. Does that sound plausible to you?
Look, I don't want to talk about the community service, but what is not plausible is that they gave him, he did that community service before they made the decision. That's also
But aren't you supposed to, by the way, aren't you supposed to admit your guilt? You're not supposed to stick to your fake story impugning entire groups of people, are you?
Tucker, that's the outrage. So she's false when she said people wanted him to go to jail. And the police didn't even want him to go to jail forever. But what they did want, though, during the plea deal is for him to say, yeah, I did it, and I'm sorry. And if that would have been part of the plea deal, I think they would have been okay for him not serving a day in jail.
I think that's right. I think most people would feel like, look, it made the point.
Right.
Like, stop lying, because it hurts, it divides the country.
That's it.
Mark Morgan, great to see you. Thank you.
You bet.
Talking about received more than $400,000 in donations from foundations controlled by left-wing billionaire George Soros. And she's not the only one. Across America, Soros has been funding prosecutors who are interested in social justice, in many cases more than they're interested in protecting the public. Author and columnist Michelle Malkin has been following this story for quite some time. It hasn't, Michelle, received a lot of attention, and that's a shame because it has, as we're watching now, profound implications sometimes.
It certainly does. George Soros has a plan. He always has a plan, and he's executed it very efficiently, and now we're seeing the fruits of it. This campaign to fund far left-wing prosecutor candidates in local district attorneys' offices across the country has been in operation for at least 4 years publicly, probably a long time before that. It's of a piece with a separate plan that Soros and the Democracy Alliance had to put secretaries of state in office too. And so this is involved in many cases, as in Chicago, far left candidates like Kim Foxx primarying incumbents who were also liberal but not liberal enough. And in Kim Foxx's race, the incumbent was somebody who the far left and Black Lives Matters and a lot of the identity politics groups were dissatisfied with because she didn't act fast enough on one of the police shooting cases involving a young man named Laquan McDonald who was shot. So this is very interesting, Tucker, because we have Kim Foxx, who was supposedly put there as a progressive to serve the poor and underrepresented minorities who didn't have a voice in Crook County, and who is she carrying water for? Minority liberal elites in the establishment of the Crook County political machine tied to people like Tina Chen and the Obamas.
That is such a smart point, and I'm glad that you made it. I mean, she wasn't even helping a poor person. She was helping a Hollywood, the most entitled person in America, Jesse Smollett. No, it's so smart. Michelle Malkin, thank you, as always.
You bet.
Joe Biden wants to be president of the United States.